Hello and welcome to TianquiztliCreations. If you are a new listener, welcome to our channel. And if you're returning, welcome back. I am your host, Elle. And today we're going to be discussing the rich tradition of storytelling within Native American culture. So, as always, I always like to share as to how I come up with these topics. And actually, this was a good topic. It was actually inspired because I just got done finish. I'm sorry. I just got finished watching. I swear I can talk English. It happens every episode, honestly. So I just finished watching the second season of Reservation Dogs, which I didn't catch when it was actually like running live. I actually just watched it on Hulu. And to be honest, I heard about it, but I never really looked into what the show was about. Until more recently, I saw it pop up on my things you may find interest in, or whatever the category is called on Hulu. And I said, you know what? I'm not watching anything right now. Let me go ahead and take a look at what this is about. Um, and I think at the same time I was watching the 90s show as well. So if you haven't watched it, it's pretty cheesy, but if you're that 70s show fan, it is very nostalgic and cute. So I did watch like the entire first season of that. Anyway, back to Reservation Dogs. So the show basically is about four teenagers who live in a Indian reservation, or in Oklahoma, I believe. It basically talks about each and every one of their stories. I feel like it was really well written. It wasn't anything I watched before, to be honest. And along with their personal stories, of course, unfortunately, they go through a lot of trauma, a lot of sad stuff. But they also include a lot of Native American folklore. So as a kid, actually, growing up in the city, you have a whole bunch of different subjects to learn about, but I always remember the history classes is really what enticed me to like want to research more and learn more about topics. I could probably say that's really what inspired my writing and talking kind of interest in everything. Um, and one of the projects I remember for one of my history classes, I was probably like in fourth grade, was based on doing like a 3D model of a Native American tribe. And I remember I was so excited about this. Like, we got to do a 3D model, we got to do like a actual really nice report. I remember like my report like had like a plastic cover and all this information I had gone to the library to search up. I don't know if you all have caught this, but I was a real nerd growing up. I enjoyed these things, okay? But this project was something I worked for weeks. And I remember I actually got to like the day before it was due, my like 3D model, and I stood up really late. Like, I remember like my mom going into my room and was like, "What are you doing? It's like midnight." And I was working on this like 3D model of a Iroquois tribe and had made all the little characters, or like all the little mountains, and everything was really nice. I also remember that I was sleep deprived the next day. As I was walking with my 3D model to school, like, I was so tired. And honestly, I kind of, I'm still mad my parents didn't really help me out with that. But I do remember I got a really good grade on it and it was a lot of fun. Definitely, like I said, always had an interest in the Native American folklore. So with that being said, I watched Restoration Dogs. It was a great show. I hope there's a third season. I That's probably the first show in a while that I actually watched first season and second within like maybe a week span. That's pretty much all I watched this week. So I recommend it for sure. It's on Hulu. I think it's part of like FX. So maybe if you have that, be able to watch it. And back to my topic. So yes, that's why I decided, hey, I haven't talked about Native American folklore. So let's get into it. For thousands of years, Native American tribes have passed down stories from generation to generation, preserving their history, culture, and values through the power of storytelling. These stories often revolve around the natural world, including animals, plants, and the elements. They also often include spiritual beliefs and the relationship between humans and the environment. One popular type of Native American folklore is a creation story. Many tribes have their own version of how the world came to be, and these stories often include the creation of the first humans, the formation of the earth, and the origins of the natural world. Another important aspect of Native American folklore is the use of symbolism. Many stories include symbolic elements that represent deeper meanings, such as the use of animals to represent certain traits, or the use of colors to represent certain different emotions. So I can say in the show, there is a lot of this. There's a lot of storytelling that goes about. You will get to know the characters, and then you will get to know them even in a deeper way because they go back into their childhood or they will go back into past experiences, and within that you will see like a spiritual maybe let's say experience they had in their childhood, or even as they're remembering something you'll see something spiritual kind of be shown to them. I'm telling you, it's a good show. I'm going to say that a few times, by the way. Now, in addition to traditional storytelling, Native American folklore also includes songs, dances, and rituals. These practices help to preserve the culture and keep the stories alive. One well known example of Native American folklore is the Iroquois story of the Three Sisters. This story explains the origins of the three most important crops to the Iroquois people: corn, beans, and squash. According to the story, these three crops were once three sisters who were transformed into plants by a spirit. And we're going to go ahead and go a little bit deeper into this because, again, like I said, I did a little bit of research, and honestly, there's such an abundant amount of stories, and I don't think I could do maybe more than two because they tend to be a little bit long. But I definitely do recommend diving into them. A lot of them are very inspiring, very very beautiful stories. So, the Iroquois story of the Three Sisters is a traditional story that explains the origins of the three most important crops to the Iroquois people: corn, beans, and squash. And the story in the beginning states the earth was barren and the people were struggling to find food. One day, a spirit known as the Hodesani, and again, I said, I got to get better at really looking these up. And I do. And sometimes as I'm recording, I tend to forget, like it just leaves my brain. I will get better. Right. So came to the people and offered to help them. He told them that he would give them three gifts: corn, beans, and squash. He then transformed the three sisters who were known for their beauty into the three plants. He explained that the corn would be the tallest and strongest, representing the older sister. The beans would be the next tallest, representing the middle sister, and the squash would be the shortest, representing the younger sister. The three sisters were also instructed that they needed to be planted together in order to survive and thrive. The corn would provide a structure for the beans to climb, the beans would provide the nitrogen for the corn, and the squash would spread on the ground and protect the roots of the other two sisters. Hodusani also instructed the people to take care of the plants and to always plant them together and use them in combination with each other. The people followed the instructions, and soon their fields were bountiful with the three sisters. The Iroquois people have passed down the story through generations, and it continues to be an important part of their culture and tradition. It symbolizes the interdependence of the three sisters and how they need each other to thrive and survive. The story is also a reminder of the importance of taking care of the earth and the gifts it provides. Now, there is another example, and I feel like this one falls a little bit more into what I like to share: more paranormal, more spooky kind of stories. And this is going to be the Navajo story of the Spider Woman. This story tells of a powerful female spirit who taught the Navajo people the art of weaving. So, the story of the Navajo of the Spider Woman. tells of a powerful female spirit who taught the Navajo people the art of weaving. According to the story, the Spider Woman, also known as Azanali, was a powerful spirit who lived in the underworld. She has said to have been created by the holy people to help the Navajo people in their everyday lives. The story goes that the Navajo people were in a time of great hardship and they had no way to weave their own clothes or blankets. They were forced to trade with other tribes for woven goods, but they were not satisfied with the quality of these goods. One day, a young Navajo girl had a vision of the Spider Woman, who appeared to her and promised to teach her the art of weaving. The girl shared her vision with her people and decided to send 4 young men to the underworld to find the Spider Woman and ask her to teach them the art of weaving. The 4 young men set off on their journey and eventually found the Spider Woman. She agreed to teach them the art of weaving, but she warned them that it would not be easy. She told them that they would have to use special tools and techniques, and they would have to be careful not to make mistakes. The young men listened carefully to the Spider Woman's instructions and returned to their people with the knowledge of how to weave. They taught the other Navajo people how to weave, and soon the tribe was able to make beautiful clothes and blankets for themselves. The story of the Spider Woman is an important part of Navajo folklore and is said to explain how the Navajo people learned the art of weaving. The story also reflects the belief in the power of visions and the importance of listening to the guidance of the spirits. The Spider Woman is considered a powerful and benevolent spirit who helped the Navajo people in their time of need. So, these are just 2 examples of the many stories and traditions that make up the rich tapestry of Native American folklore. This folklore reflects the values, beliefs, and experiences of the people who have passed it down through generations. It is also an important aspect of Native American culture and identity. So, like I said, there's just so many stories that you can find and learn about. And I gotta say, and I said I was gonna say quite a lot in this episode. The reservation dogs had so many great stories intertwined. You know, Folklore. They did also speak of a tall man, which was actually, if you end up watching it, right, it's actually about like this creature that lives in the woods with red, gleaming, glowing eyes. And he's more like a protector of of nature. And you learn about him as you're learning about one of the characters who unfortunately suffered a loss of a friend, a cousin. So like I said, it's such an interesting show, an interesting way that they wrote each and each story for each character and how they also included all these like Native American folklores. I loved it. I really think that, there should be a third season. I want to see what ends up happening to these characters. I definitely recommend it. And of course, in my last episode, I also actually mentioned Native American folklore because we talked about an episode of Unsolved Mysteries. So that was, I believe, in this last season they released on Netflix. Definitely check it out because it's also a good episode. And like I said, these these topics kind of just come to me at random. Whether I'm reading a book or watching a show, or maybe even doing one of our Instagram polls, which is what I've done lately because I do want to know what interests my listeners. And I'm going to continue to do that. So if you don't follow us on Instagram or Facebook or, just social media as a whole, definitely find us. We are under T Creations LLC underscore media on Instagram or TianquiztliCreations on Facebook. You can also find us on our website, www.TianquiztliCreations.com, where you could find our newsletter as well as our link to our podcast. We are now available on Castbox, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. So we're very excited about that, be able to reach even much bigger audience. As always, I always want to make sure to thank you all for listening, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.